said, the most challenging task you give to any sort of presenter is the one who is after the lunch break. It's by far the most challenging task because people are getting distracted during lunch break, and at some point there's always a lack of motivation, let's say, to come back to the room. That's okay. We can live with that. We've been around the globe in numerous, seminars, blah, blah, blah. We've been there. We've done that. Now, I would like to have your attention as I will be presenting on human capital return on investment, a topic you haven't heard in the past. I can assure you about that. I'm the first one addressing the topic in the maritime domain. So, the modern ship management equation, we start from here, is finding the right people, the right ship and the right systems. And I'm just saying we have to put the horse before the cart, not that way. This is the wrong way. We have to put the horse before the cart, but not in that way, the proper way. So that's the idea. You get the point here. So I'm just saying we have to see what we do now, what we do maybe we should be doing on a different angle, and maybe some forward thinking, some solutions, etc. So this is the modern ship management equation, starting with finding the right people. I think the industry is not addressing these issues properly. That's why we have a problem, and the industry is not putting the horse before the cart in the proper way. So the biggest problem we have in modern shipping is the diagram you see on the right-hand side of this slide. What the diagram says, this is the average seafarer career length over time. Repeat, average seafarer career length over time. I'm sure you understand. If we go back in the early 90s, people were staying at sea. Let's say we have, for example, Captain Fanny's here, just to mention a previous speaker. People were in the business of staying a lengthy period at sea, becoming captains, maybe staying 20, 25, 30 years. Many people were sailing for 30 years. I know people who went from the sea directly to retirement. Captain Fanny is one of the rare occasions who said, at the end of my sea career, I'm going to go work ashore. At the end of his sea career, not in the middle of it. Now we see this one is dropping, and by 2040 it's going to be 12 to 15 years. Now it's something in the range of 15 to 20 years. We don't have the exact numbers because no one is providing these numbers. I'm just saying we've seen this as a trend. It's a worrying trend. It makes a lot of sense, but I'm just saying you're going to understand that. And again, the CEO dilemma in these days, if you are a CEO of a ship management company, or if you are a principal, let's say, you are a ship owner, you're going to ask a number of questions. A lot of questions who do not necessarily have a straightforward answer, like, let's say, what's the price of safe performance? What's the cost of an accident? What's the cost of development review? Why should we train them? And someone might say, what if we keep them and we don't train them? Is it a better idea? So that sort of, what's the return on investment on training? Very few establishments, I can assure you, I'm a passionate trainer. I've done more than 100 training days as a trainer in my career. That's a lot of training days. I can assure you I've trained more than 10,000 people in more than 70 different training courses, different subjects, I mean. So, very few establishments across the globe measure the return on investment on training and learning. Very few, I can assure you. It's not difficult, but it's happening in very few occasions. I'm going to be talking on a much more challenging topic, return on investment on human capital. So, this is what the theory says. The theory says you improve the safety performance in 3 steps. The first is about technology, the second is about systems, and the third is about culture. This call was made 20 years ago, approximately, in the tanker segment with the introduction of TMSA, the culture thing. You've seen the SAIL initiative with Partners in Safety with Resilience back in 2013 because TMSA didn't work well, as it was supposed to be. And you've seen the call of RightShip doing the same thing, the commitment side, with the rescue and what's happening on the dry bulk sector. Okay, is it working? Be my guest. Have your answer. I have my own answer. Now, I'm just saying in real life, we have to move as an industry from safety 1.0 to safety 2.0. Safety 1.0 is, focusing on the problems, focusing on what goes wrong, move to focusing and learning with what goes well. That's the key difference. In safety 1, you have to eliminate errors, and in safety 2, you have to succeed under varying conditions, and you have to learn, that sort of stuff. Reactive versus proactive. Minimize what goes wrong, maximize what goes well, and that sort of stuff. That's the idea between. And in safety 1, we have the bad habit of thinking that everyone, the primary source of errors was always the human factor, the humans. In safety 2, we have to understand that without humans, we cannot have safety performance, that sort of stuff. That makes a lot of sense. And the role of leadership has changed from enforcement of rules and regulations, from compliance to proactively, safety 2, building trust and good reporting, fostering a culture of learning and development, and so on and so forth. So that sort of stuff, and with the performance monitoring, I'm not sure if you know the difference between lagging indicators. Lagging are the indicators we are leaving behind. This is what we do, and the trace of it, that's the lagging indicators. Now we're talking about leading indicators. What would be, let's say, those indicators such as, for example, adaptability, teamwork, effectiveness, proactive risk management, that sort of stuff. This is where we are, safety 1, this is where we have to go, safety 2. Okay, this is a brief, let's say, of how the industry thinks, and I'm going to highlight 4 of my favorite urban myths. This is one of my favorite urban myths over here, or human performance. The first myth is that human error is the main cause of accidents. It couldn't be more wrong than that. Human error is a symptom of deeper systemic issues, such as poor procedures, inadequate equipment, that sort of stuff. And it's not in any way that the human error is the main cause of accidents. The second is that technology eliminates human error, which is absolutely not true, because you have to understand that technology reduces some errors, but introduces new challenges, complacency, over reliance. Take the example of ECDIS or ECDIS-assisted accidents, that sort of stuff. The third one, training guarantees optimal performance. Absolutely not. In any way. Training, we may have, let's say, you go, if you don't believe me, you go to Wikipedia. Competence. Competence is a number of 3 factors. Knowledge, what you get from an academic institution, from a training outlet. So knowledge, skills, how many hours, how many years, how many months you've done that, skills and experience, and attitude. That's why we say the most, let's say, problematic captains are those who are very, let's say, either very young and new to the role of the captain, or very experienced, because they have complacency. That's the attitude. And then, in order to perform, you need not only the competence, but you need the motivation as well. So you have to account for the motivation, who has a number of, let's say, parameters have to be accounted for. Training does not equal performance in any universe. I can assure you about that. The fourth one is automation reduces workload as well. Absolutely not. You go and ask the fighters of the jets who are flying drones. You fly a fighter with 1 or 2 pilots. To fly a set of drones, you need twice the amount of pilots. And this is happening in real life. So automation does not reduce the workload. That's real fact. And the last one, younger crews adapt better to modern system. This familiarity doesn't necessarily translate to operational proficiency or better decision making. This is maybe a wishful thinking, absolutely. So, we are talking about sustainable shipping. We should be striving for a safer, smarter, and sustainable shipping. Absolutely. This is our main objective, striving for sustainable shipping. Now, sustainability means we have to account to maximize or optimize total stakeholder satisfaction, starting with identifying who these stakeholders are. And you see a list of stakeholders. Everyone have their own needs. The ship owner has to make money. The ship manager has to make money. The sailors have to make money. The class, the flag, the insurers, they have to make money. The equipment manufacturers, the ship suppliers, and then you go to the other side, the general public, the end users. So I'm asking you, who have we forgotten here? We have forgotten something. Who have we forgotten? The answer is we have forgotten you. We have forgotten the seafarers. This is how the industry behaves. It's totally unprofessional, but this is how the industry behaves. Putting our own, let's say, priorities ahead of the priorities of others. So seafarers should be at the center of it. And sorry. And we have a number of human factor challenges. Seafarers and human factors consider source of living. Career legacy is going down. Continuity issues, crew shortage, aging workforce, new nations in the market. You see at all time, this goes on and on. Have training competency gaps with the green and the digital transition. Autonomous shipping, thank God it's not going to happen. Not because the technology is not there, but because of legal issues. I can assure you about that. I've been in a number of conferences. Due to legal issues, autonomous shipping will never happen, most probably in international waters. Not in local waters, but in international waters, there's a number of legal challenges that cannot be overcome. And we have seen the incorporation of Gen Z, a number of problems, and we've seen the issue of human sustainability. It's a topic near and dear to my heart, introduced last October in the Global Maritime Forum. This is where we stand, the human sustainability. And of course we have global disruptions, and we have, if you haven't counted it properly, 4 black swans back to back. You have to count with me. That's the pandemic, the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, the Red Sea crisis, and now we have Trump. No one knows, it's four black swans back to back in 5 years. This has never happened. One of the key factors of this growth we had after the Second World War was mainly due to the peace that we had. We had global peace for a period of 70 years. And then we had the pandemic, and then we had all of that happening. So we are living in turbulent times. This is what's happening. So this is a real life scenario. So it's a problem for us. So the image of shipping and everything. And I said at the beginning that the industry is working in silos. So this is a nice picture for you, I can assure you. Our ambition level. What's the ambition level you have? Because if the expectation is high, you have to remember the expectation is mother of all disappointments. We expect the modern seafarer not to be Superman. We expect the modern seafarer to be the combination of all these four. We expect them to be at the same time Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, and Captain America. This is our level of ambition. Is it sustainable? Absolutely not. This is not sustainable. Take a picture of that, because this is where we stand now as an industry. Our expectation is very high, and I can assure you it cannot go well. This will not go well at all. So this is the problem in these days. And I'm always saying, let's assume that you have the most skilled of these seafarers. And I've seen people saying, we are doing this and that. Oh, okay, I guess. I mean, we do a lot of things, but what's the optimum? Let's say, if you have an ideal master, how old is he? Starting there, it's 40. Oh, that's okay, be my guest. Not too young, not too old. That's okay. 40, it's okay. How many years is he? 20, okay. Where did he start his career? In which company? Has he started in your company? No. Then why on earth leave from the company that he's working with for, let's say, 20 years to come to your company? Working with cadets, raising them up to the rank of, chief officer, second engineer, chief engineer, master, makes a lot of sense. And those who do not get that, they will be left behind in the near future. These are real life problems because the level of ambition is high. So, I said earlier on, and thank God, this is what is happening in real life. I'm sure you haven't seen that. This is coming from my own experience for more than 30 years. Yes, you provide training, and the training, it only achieves improving the competence. Then in order to perform, you need the competence and you need also the motivation. And when you perform, then you learn. Don't mix the idea of training and learning being the same. It's absolutely not the same. And thank God this is the 70-20-10 model I said at the beginning in a discussion in the first panel. This is how adults learn. 10% we learn from what we hear in the classroom. 20% we learn from what we discuss with our peers. And 70%, thank God, we learn from day-to-day practice. Thank God. That's why when I hear the terms shortage of seafarers, there's no shortage of seafarers, I can assure you about. There's shortage of competent seafarers. Be my guest. You can have seafarers. If you go out, you're going to have seafarers, not here, in any place of the world, with certificates and everything. We have a shortage of qualified seafarers, shortage of proficient seafarers. We have a shortage of good seafarers. Yes, absolutely. But this is what's happening across the industry. Now the industry has also improved a number of other ways, secondary measures maybe, systemic issues, in order to, let's say, improve the performance, monitor the performance, so on and so forth. But thank God, this is how the industry works. And then if you have that, then you have to bear in mind when you hear these big numbers. Bingo says we have a shortage of 800,000 trained crew for this, green transition. Be my guest. Where exactly these people are going to learn how to use these systems? Starting with simulators makes a lot of sense, but you need ships. And ships are not there. The ships are not there. You don't have now, today, you don't have 1,000 ships of anything. 1,000 ships working with LNG, 1,000 ships working with ammonia, with hydrogen, with methanol. You don't even have 1,000 ships with solar panels, or even 1,000 ships with wind-assisted propulsion. You don't have. We don't have as an industry. Where exactly are they going to learn how to do it? That's the challenge. So again, the 70-20-10, it's what is happening in real life. It's not my model. It's a model existing over there, but I think it represents well enough what is happening across the industry. And coming to the topic I promised you, using a formula to calculate the human capital ROI, you have to divide the net revenues from the HR costs. Now, the net revenues, you may subtract or add, whatever. I'm putting numbers here. The daily charter rate, let's assume it's $50,000, excluding maybe, if you want to exclude the financial cost. I'm just saying you shouldn't include the financial cost because it's your problem if you have a financial cost. It's not a real life problem. So if you put your money there, and you should do at some point, then there is no financial cost. You don't have a loan. Yes, you exclude the bunkering costs, absolutely. This is a time charter. That means the charterer pays the cost of the bunkers. So the bunkers are out. And you divide, you see the HR cost per day. So 50 minus 10 equals 40,000 per day, divided by 10,000, which is the HR cost, that's 4. And the interpretation of the return on investment is, let's say, for every dollar spent on HR, on people, on human capital, this is the return on investment. Here you have, on the example, 4 times the return. For every dollar you put, you get $4 back. Okay, that's the example. Let's put real life numbers over there. So these are real life numbers. And again, if you don't believe me, you take your ships, or the ships you know, or the ships of the principals you work with, and ask them. And I have put in a number of different options, handy-sized bulkers, Panamax bulkers, general cargo, You can, let's say, debate with me on the average number of crew, or the average income rate, or the average daily crew cost. That's okay. You can debate me. But you can put the numbers over there and you can do the math. You can do the math using this formula. You can do it. That's why I'm giving you the formula. Okay. So, but again, given in these examples, who are real-life examples, the average return on investment is ranging from 1.67 in the general cargo ships to more than 7 in the LNG tankers and the large containers. This is an enormous amount of money being made. Can you think about that? Now, if you are in the personal investment business, you're going to say, I'm going to give you a return on the capital invested in the range of 10%, 15%, 5%. 5%. I'm giving you 200%, 700%. It makes a lot of sense. But you haven't seen the numbers because no one has taken the initiative to put numbers over there and present you the financial aspect of it. That's the idea. If you present the financial aspect of it, it makes a lot of sense. That's why I'm just saying, I'm tackling the issue this year. I'm going to be talking about this issue for the full year. Just try to create some buzz around it, because no one has spoken in the past about the issue. But I can assure you, talking about it makes a lot of sense. We should address the topic. We shouldn't, and you shouldn't be, if you're involved in the training industry or in the crew management industry, you shouldn't be afraid of pointing out these figures, because it makes a lot of sense. When you invest in people, this investment goes very well, very, very well. And if you ask, Warren Buffett once was asked, what's the best advice, the wisest investor in the world? he was asked, what's the best advice to a young person? Where they should invest? Does anyone know the answer? What Warren Buffett said. Warren Buffett said you have to invest in yourself, because this is an investment that pays best comparing to all other investments. This is it. This is real life. So, again, you will be having a presentation just to get the numbers. You don't have, at some point, shouldn't be, I understand that you're taking photos or whatever, but you're going to be having the slide decks, not only of this presentation, but all presentations made today. But I feel that this makes a lot of sense, and we have to also reflect on that. And there are a number of human capital ideas, from leadership development, training development plans, income, learning platforms, skills certifications, sponsorships, technology training, seafarer engagement tools, well-being surveys, analytics, health wellness program. I'm just listing these because it makes a lot of sense to you, and I'm just giving you ideas of potential ROI in real life of any of these measures: diversity and inclusion, career pathing, flexible work options, performance-based incentives, and so on and so forth. So I'm just giving you the practical tools to see how these measures, add up. So in order to sum up and stay on track with the program, I have some conclusions and I have some reflections with respect to forward thinking. First of all, we need to think differently, because it's the growth versus the fixed, or the fixed versus the growth mindset, the safety 1.0, learn from our mistakes, to safety 2.0, learn from what goes well. In shipping, 99.9%, I can assure you these are not my numbers, these are numbers about millions of operations. 99.9% of operations are happening flawlessly, without errors. 0.1% is the problematic. Yes, we need to find, yes, we need to analyze, absolutely. I'm with you on that, but we have to at some point think differently and think what we can learn from what goes well. The traditional way of thinking is absolutely keeping the industry back. I've been in the industry for more than 30 years fighting for this change. It won't change, the industry won't change from one to the other, but it will not change if you stop asking for change. That's the idea. And if I ask you, not only in this room, but worldwide, who wants to change? Who wants to see things change? Everyone will raise their hands. And then if I ask you the next question, would you like to change? Absolutely not. Everyone wants to remain same and everything else will be changing. No, this cannot happen. If we need to see change, we have to be the advocates of change. We have to be the leaders of change. Changing the way we think. As I said with the quote, yesterday, Geraldine Rami said, yesterday I was smart and wanted to change the world. Today I'm wise and I decided to change myself. This is where you start the thinking. So human capital ROI is fine, makes a lot of sense, and maybe we need to revisit that. So this is the conclusion I'm keeping from this. And the forward thinking, people are a resource and not a cost center. So this is a wrong way of thinking about people. And I'm always saying, I'm one of those who say, I'm sure you heard the question, what's best? There's Konstantinos Kavafis, a famous Greek poet, and there was a poem, and the outcome of the poem is, what's more important, the journey or the destination? I'm one of those who say, none. What matters is the company. What matters is the company. This is real life. People matter above the journey and the destination. This is something you have to change, the way you approach things, the way you see things. So people are a resource and not a cost center. The industry has the bad habit for a number of years. We are considering seafarers something like a commodity, like a kilo of cheese, I don't know, you name it. It's the same, but it's happening. Many across the globe are considering seafarers a commodity. They are not. You are not a commodity if you are a seafarer, I can assure you. So we have to think differently. And then, in the future, it will be harder, I can assure you about that, to attract, train, and retain seafarers, quality seafarers, or seafarers of the same caliber and quality. It's going to happen, I can assure you about that. You see the challenge with the Gen Z? Be my guest, wait to see what happened with the Generation Alpha, those born after 2010. 2010 to 2025, that's Generation Alpha. It's going to be 10 times worse than Generation X. Like Generation X was 10 times worse with millennials, the generation that preceded them. That's the idea. Human factors issues, I'm sure it will be resurfaced in the agenda going forward with green and the digital transition. And human sustainability, that's the end of my, let's say, reflections you need to keep moving forward, will add a considerable cost layer. Imagine someone is willing to pay 3 times, 4 times, 5 times the amount of money per day. Per day. Let's add, let's say, 10,000 per day on the cost of the fuel. Let's add, let's say, 10 million per ship for the new ships. Let's add them. Okay. Why on earth you need to keep the human-related costs at the same level? Be my guest. I mean, I can assure you, things will change. I can assure you about that. What we see as a norm today will be a norm in 5 or 10 years down the road. The same way no one could predict it, what will happen when the LNG ships will be produced in the market. At the end, at the rise of 2000, when let's say the vast majority of the LNG ships, LNG was not new, LNG was there since the 60s. So now we consider 3-on, 3-off routine in the LNG. And if you don't provide that, you're out of the market, and so on and so forth. Things will change faster than what you think. So, having said that, I would like to thank you very much.